I want to talk to you about something I've never really spoken about openly before. At least not in this way, not talking to a camera and having no idea who's going to see or watch this or where it's going to be shared. But it feels really important. I want to talk to you about the times in life where I've wanted to just check out. And there have been a few. I want to talk to you about the time I literally broke my back by taking stupid risks, trying to escape from life to get out of what my divorce solicitor called one of the worst cases of domestic abuse he'd ever seen. And then I want to talk to you about the time I got out of that and things still didn't stack up and I still wanted to escape. You know, there was a time I'd got out of that situation. I was living with my parents. I had the most amazing new partner. I had a new job offer in a different part of the country. To all intents and purposes, life was looking up. World's your lobster, kid. And yet, I was still finding reasons to blame myself for all kinds of things. People I loved were going through some difficult times, and from my warped worldview back at the time, I managed to find the one common denominator, and I managed to name myself as that. And I thought, these people would all be so much better off if I wasn't here. And then one night, lying in my old childhood bedroom, it was as though someone had flicked a switch in my head. Suddenly, I had absolute clarity and knew what I had to do. And I don't think I've ever experienced such a moment of eerie calm since. Suddenly, I had this plan to leave life. I had the how and the where and the when. And it all happened very quickly. I can't say I was suicidal as such at the time, but this plan downloaded as if by magic in only a few seconds, and it made, at the time, perfect sense. Now then I made what at the time I felt to be a mistake, and now I feel was one of the best things I'd ever done. I texted one of my friends, and I still remember what it said. It said, "Had enough, catch you on the flip side." And it wasn't a cry for attention, it wasn't a call for help. It wasn't, "Oh, look at me, talk to me, I'm going through hard times, help me." It was none of that stuff that people spout when they hear of people wanting to get out of life. It was just because I was so going to do this and I didn't want anybody to take the blame for it. I needed people to know that this was on me. But what I hadn't counted for, what I hadn't figured in, was that she'd be awake. Now this particular friend, at that time of night, she'd normally be fast asleep in the land of Nod. But this one night, she was awake and she got my text, and she unleashed the best kind of hell on me. She tried calling, and I was very much, no, stay in the zone, you know what you need to do, stay in the zone, don't answer the calls. And then she sent a text, and I made the mistake of looking at the screen. And then I listened to some of the voicemails she'd left. And they said something along the lines of, "If you don't speak to me, if you don't call me back right now, I'm going to call the house phone and alert your parents. And then I'm going to call the police, because the police station isn't far from your house, and I'm going to tell the police that my best friend wants to kill herself and she's about to do it. And they will be around there before you can affect anything. And they'll stop you, and everyone will know, and you'll feel stupid, so just talk to me." And that was enough to break my state. That was enough to snap me out of it, and boy was I pissed off at the time. But now, I'm so thankful for that. Because you know what? I look back on those times, and it's like I was a different person back then. It really is, yeah. Since then, I've really turned things around. I've used some of the hardships that I've been through to enable me to help other people. And I'm well aware that there may be some people who see my websites or see my blogs or my social media updates or see me speaking somewhere, and they'll just see this positive, go-getting person telling everyone to unleash their awesome and say yes to life, and they won't stop to think that it hasn't always been like that. It's a bit like when, with our cynical Western heads on, we see people who've done really well in business or millionaires, and we go, "Yeah, well, they've had loads of help to get there," or "Well, they were born into money, weren't they?" We don't stop to think that maybe these people have spent a few nights sleeping on a park bench when they've lost everything and had to rebuild. We don't see that, we see the now. So I feel it's really important for people to understand that it hasn't always been roses around the door. I've been through some shitty times, just like lots of you watching this video will have been. But the point is, we can get through them. We just have to choose to get through them. Why am I posting this today? Brad Burton shared a video earlier on And I posted it onto my feed and said, here's Brad Burton, sounding a lot like me, have a listen. Now, I've only met Brad a couple of times, but we've been mates on social media for a while, and I'm really pleased to know him. And when I listened to this video, it was really awesome, but the one part where I think our views differ slightly is Brad was saying, you've only got one life. This is it. If you're looking for a sign, this is it. You've got one life. I don't believe we do only have one life. I believe we have lots of different lives, and that our souls come back time after time to learn the things we need to learn the lessons we need in order to experience everything we can and to grow and to develop. And if I'd checked out early, I'd have had to come back and repeat all those lessons in order to learn them again. It's a bit like having to repeat a year at school or college, except instead of that term, you're coming back and having to relive, I don't know, 70, 80, 90, maybe 100 years. Do you want to come back and repeat all that? I certainly didn't. So my message is this. When you're going through hardships, it will be for a reason. Now, that reason might just be that your soul needs that teaching. That reason might be that you can use those situations to help other people later on. You know, I'm sure I've helped, and I don't mean this from a place of ego, but I'm sure I've helped lots of people since. You know, people who've come on my courses or come into contact with me, people who've read my blogs. So much of what I do now is about helping other people to reclaim their power, to realise how amazing they are. And, you know, one of the things I want to do at some point, whether it's through a charity or a foundation, I don't know, the plan isn't clear yet. But I want to be able to take some of the experiences I've been through and start some kind of project or program to help other people who've been through domestic abuse, to help them to rediscover themselves, because I know at the time I lost who I was. I can use that now. I can help other people. I want to be able to help people to reclaim all that lost power, to remember who they were, to realise the riches life can hold for them. Because you know what now? My life's amazing, and if I'd checked out back then, in any of those times where life had felt just unlivable, where I'd felt trapped, I would have missed out on so much. You know, the love that surrounds me now, the amazing wife I have, my beautiful family, the work I'm doing now, I wouldn't have been able to do any of that. So I say this, when life feels really bad, sure, there's loads of stuff out there telling you to choose and be happy, and it's not always that easy, and I'm sometimes the one saying that. It's not always that easy, but there is always a choice, and there are people who can help, there are groups who can help, there are people like me out there doing stuff to help, there are charities and foundations and your family and friends. Reach out to people, ask for that help, take that help. But you know what? The biggest piece of help you can give yourself is to start believing in you. There are lots of outside factors that can help, but it has to start within. You know, one of the biggest changes I've made in my life is to stop blaming the outside world for everything, to stop thinking that all these external factors dictate my life. They don't. They're there, sure. But the one person in control of my ship, the one steering the wheel, that's me. And I might not be able to suddenly halt global warming or change the government, but I can change the way I respond to life. I can change the way I look at the world. I can change my worldview. And I can learn to get to the point where I can look in the mirror and say, you know what? You're all right. You know what? Whatever's happened in the past, you've been through it. You've survived. And you're going to do even more. And you know what, person in the mirror? I kind of love you. You're kind of awesome. So whatever you're going through in life, however dire it feels, just believe me that there's always a way. And believe me when I say that there's so much amazing stuff out there that you can still experience if you just stick it out and really work on changing your perception of the world and work on changing your view and work on believing that change really does start from within. I'm Taz Thornton. I hope this has helped. Create the world you want. It really is possible.